Okay, I'm having some struggles a bit here. On one hand, I suppose if I would just buckle down and focus on one creative project, that it would be like, it would come into being something. The thing is that when I can't come in every day and do something on it, because the thing is, it's just not practical for me to actually do that, for me to every day sit down, do something. That might happen for a week, but especially I need a lot of sleep, and basically no matter what I do, I can't feel more motivated to then do like all kinds of activities. I don't really want to do all kinds of activities. So I'm in this kind of no. Oh, this? You do it like this. So I'm in this weird limbo where, like, if I were to try and make everything be the perfect circumstances for me to produce, and everyone needs limitations. Everyone needs, But for me, the schedule's just so chaotic because my ex is, constantly needing to do different things different ways, and experimenting with different things, and she's just constantly doing different activities. So because of that, I kind of feel like just doing different stuff randomly all the time. And I kind of like that, but also I'd kind of like to finish something. Like I could do on my own something and actually finish it. But I would need to come back to it every day. But maybe, I'm wondering also, and I wondered this before, I haven't returned to these thoughts in a long time, because I've just been so, busy and stuff, is that, maybe I don't really want to sit down and buckle down and focus on one thing. Maybe I want to do the part I like, and just do that, and just focus on that. And the part I like can change, So, the other thing is the parts I like are more the parts a lot of other people don't like, I think. Like a lot of people would rather take, like for animation, for example, I think most people would rather just take some meshes from the internet and then mess with them, animate them and everything else. At least I've seen a lot of content like that on the internet. I think for everyone that does, for the amount of people that will just animate something and produce something that way, there's far fewer people that are modeling. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it's maybe a little more just immediately fun to just get in and animate and make a scene and do filmmaking in Blender. So maybe there could be some kind of nice yin yang of it where I could just find people that actually like, sort of to do the things I don't like to do. I also don't have a good sense of story. I have the broad strokes, but I don't know how to break it down. And I need someone to do that. I haven't really thought of it that way before. Because before it's like, oh, maybe I could collaborate with someone, or I think I was also very possessive that I wanted something to look a certain way, but I don't even know how I want it to look completely. So I had this fear that if I did have people help me, I would just micromanage them. And I wonder if that's what, whenever I would work with Lucia, she would try to micromanage me, even though she was telling me as if she was going to come help me, but maybe then in that way she was kind of channeling my need to micromanage others that I've sort of foreclosed on. That I know I have, This doesn't open, boo. It's an ornament. It doesn't open. This is it. Okay? It doesn't open. No, it doesn't open, boo. It's just, this is like styrofoam. Okay. Anyways. So, I know I have this sort of like dormant narcissism going on with me, and that because I don't act on it, I sort of become almost like narcissistically abused, but actually it's like it's me, you know what I mean? And I've seen this with other people too, and it's an interesting mirror, but I'm not really sure. One thing I have noticed is when I help others, I sort of I can like sadistically absorb their pain, but it actually is healing for them. I mean, I don't take advantage of their pain or anything like that. I actually, listen, and people often feel way more listened to from me than they do from anyone else, and it's because of this latent sadism within me that I can actually like eat their pain, and I think that's really cool. But I think what happens is if you don't go, and I think maybe I put this in a video before, but if I don't have someone's pain to eat, I end up sort of making them hurt or I feel the compelled to hurt them, so then I can feed myself, because it's a need that I have, right? And but I can foreclose on that too and just starve, and that's what I did most of my life. And then I had like a bit of a villain period where I did hurt people, like at work especially, and it was easy at work, and basically people deserved it, so it was kind of a win-win, but yeah, I don't know, it wasn't that positive at the same time. But I think being more like, say, the healer is a lot more of a positive like connotation of this type thing, and I think it's what it's meant to be. But it's like, if you don't have someone to heal or something, you just end up hurting people in order to feed yourself, like I said. So yeah, it'd be a bit complex, really. Yeah, I would kind of be just slightly edgelording in the beginning of the occult thing of like being like that I'm sort of into the demonic or doing demonic things. Although I do work a lot with Goetia, I kind of follow the leading of quasi-goetic left-hand path beings because they're nice and they help me. They really do. They're really they're far more compassionate than various random gods, and honestly, like, with the things I've seen, there's no way I could really take Christianity seriously. Maybe I could take the Mormon faith seriously if I backpedaled, and I found, like, if I figured out that, wow, I'm interfacing with these demonic powers, and, yeah, if I find out I'm interfacing with these demonic powers, and oh, my soul is really getting into a weird situation, I better backpedal and repent or something. Repent. One time my mom was saying that to me. You need to repent. I don't mean to make fun. They believe what I'm doing is wrong and that I'm harming myself, but it says in the Bible, taste and see that the Lord is good, and I tasted, and I don't know, I'm not impressed. Yeah, I'm talking about how I tasted and the Lord wasn't good, and then Dio fell over. I think, though, that there's an interesting, trick there. Because, especially when I first left Christianity, quote-unquote left, I actually hadn't considered myself leaving. I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm leaving Christianity. I was thinking, oh, I'm going on to something bigger and better. That, oh, the Bible's talking about something more powerful, but I'm being led towards other ideas, towards other paradigms to investigate these things through. So, in a way, it's almost like I never actually left. Like, when we talk about what's intrinsic, what's at the principle of it, what's at the bottom of it, what's at the core. Because it says in the Bible to pray to God to give you wisdom and He will give freely, and I did that, and that started a process that led me out of Christianity, you know. Maybe so. Also, I've had an experience with Marduk lately. Just, you know, with deity work, you work with different deities. I'm kind of considering that Yahweh is Marduk, which would make sense because if we kind of compare it to Canaanite mythology, where there's El and then El's son Yahweh kind of takes over after El. That kind of I think Yahweh is one of El's sons. I don't quite remember, but in like I think it's Akkadian myth, Akkadian Sumerian myth. It's Enlil, and he's succeeded by Marduk, who is like Enki's son. I just deep seeked this stuff, so I'll have to verify it later.
Look for a control panel or switch.
Yeah, the whole Anunnaki thing, I've kind of begrudgingly sort of started looking into it because I kind of had a raw nerve about it, because for so long it was like ancient aliens. It's aliens, you know. There's some ridiculous fucking episodes. I hate that content style of like, there's like 3 or 4 new facts in an episode, and it gets drawn out over 2 hours, and it's not even very. It's all in the sense of, oh, maybe this is true. What if? Instead of a more sort of honest interaction with the concepts, and like, you know, you could take it as a giant thought experiment. I think that's sort of what I actually do with my practice. Like, there's a part of me that it's there. It's like, this is a big thought experiment, but it works, so I think it's true. But, you know, let's look for more pieces to the puzzle. I'm not going to stand on some tradition and be like, that's the truth, you know, because everything is something someone came up with at some point, or channeled, more like. But if you know anything about channeling, there's only so much you can really get from the channeling of one person from the past, or one, you know what I mean? And I think that the universe is giving us more information. That I personally believe that alien collectives are, you know, showering wisdom upon us now that the human race just wasn't ready for before. More like, what I was told is that we're on like probation. So, I guess humans fucked up in Atlantis, and now a lot of the things we were doing before, we're not really allowed to have access to some of our like latent spiritual powers and things like that. Yeah, something like that. But basically, we're on probation. I'm not exactly sure what that means in its fullness. But yeah. So
there's new traffic on the Covenant battle network. A lot more crew made it off the Autumn.
I'm kind of in this weird spot where, like,
really gave them hell.
I don't feel like I've really gone against anything intrinsic. I have some different kind of maybe like weird beliefs about a few things. Most of my like really good work, a lot of the good gains I've gotten has been dealing with maybe the darker side of things. I do feel these sorts of powers are misunderstood. I also feel like it's accepting labels like I think using labels of left-hand path or demon or whatever, it is kind of a good code that can inform others what you are and are not. Like, I want to sort of, what's the word, distinguish myself from, say, like, people in the New Age movement that are like light workers. according to them.
Survivors detected.
Um,
Marines are concealed in those rocks.
You know, I think there's not a lot of benefit to just always staying in the light. You need light and dark. I don't think that means that you need to actually go out and do immoral things. I think that morality is more or less like I have more like a Buddhistic like view of morality. Like if you do something that's quote unquote immoral but doesn't really hurt anyone, is it really immoral? You know, so that's like one thing that I think about a lot.
Survivors detected. Marines are concealed in those rocks.
Yeah, I just burned myself as I was saying that. I think the point here is that the distinction to be understood is like morality or like that which is moral or ethical isn't really about static rules as much as like considering the I want to top my hat to like sort of the left and be like, how it impacts your environment, but by environment I mostly mean other people. But it's kind of like if you're into like mindfulness, morality is a whole different thing, and it's sort of, and then there comes kind of the question of like, is something wrong because you had malicious intentions, or do you deserve to be punished because you had malicious intentions? Like, I would suppose karmically even there's a difference between doing something like knowingly or unknowingly or whatever. Like knowing that it would hurt someone or not knowing or so I think there is a lot of nuances, especially when it comes to karma. It depends on sort of the soul ties you create with others around you. I will say that people are convinced about heaven or hell. I personally believe that if you put yourself into the box of an afterlife or whatever of whatever religion it happens to be, like if you're scared of hell, you may end up in some hellish realm after you die if you're in guilt and you're in that, because that concept has tainted your consciousness, and that concept comes from somewhere, and you may go to the source, go to a place of guilt and shame after you die, because we die and then we go. You just kind of go where it's natural for you. It's not like I think there's a bit of a myth that quote unquote bad people are enjoying and happy and everything else, and then they're gonna get their comeuppance when they die, and then they're gonna suffer. I think a lot of times, like if someone's a narcissist, for example, a lot of times people like that are actually suffering so much psychologically. They're in their own personal hell. And I would say this describes maybe even most people in society, in global society practically. I should say worldwide, being a flat earther and all. So then the elites, it becomes a question, because the elites are spiritual, but I would suppose there's different spiritual rules for them, which is why I think it's important to fight against them, because God, it's like Krishna has no enemies, God doesn't pick sides, there's no ultimate reason why such people should go quote-unquote to hell or get quote-unquote bad karma, because those concepts within themselves are not ultimate. So I think that's why it's really important to actually, in the immediate now, fight against the elite. Not to say that there's not some arbiter that will put them down. I think there is. but even such an arbiter isn't ultimate. So I think we all have responsibility to be stewards of our world and stand up for something that we believe in.